You're listening to a Mamamia podcast.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of land and waters that this podcast is recorded on. Hello and welcome to Mamamia Out Loud and to our Friday show, where we take a break from the news cycle and we all exhale. Today is Friday, the 2nd of August, about which I am not going to comment. And I am Holly Wainwright.
I'm Mia Freedman.
And I'm Jessie Stevens.
And on the show today, the Olympic Village is full of losers, in the nicest possible way. What can we learn about how to handle failure from the people who try the hardest? Plus, we're recommending a brand new fiction thriller, Mia's spotted a rising new talent, and Jessie's cooked something.
Would we call it cooking?
She warmed something up and she's recommending it to us. And in our best and worst of the week, Jessie's strange stomach, Mia's house is full of estrogen again, and I had a feminist failure by the side of the road. But first, Mia Freedman.
In case you missed it, which you would have if you didn't listen to Monday's episode or you're not in the Out Louders Facebook group, there is a lot of debate about how to say the word gymnast.
Gymnast.
Is the A silent or is it emphasised?
And I have heard commentators say it both ways. I have made the observation that the British seem to say it gymnast, and the Americans seem to say gymnast.
Babe, is it gymnastics? Maybe if you're a Kiwi, perhaps, no offence, Kiwi listeners, maybe if you're a Kiwi, perhaps it's gymnastics, but for most of us it's gymnastics.
I don't agree.
Do you know who would know? Shout out to Out Louder Trenner, whose son, Jessie Moore, is competing in the games. Jessie is the only man in the artistic gymnastics men's situation representing Australia. So good on Jessie.
We have an Out Louder in the Olympics.
We do. Anyway, we asked Trenner, who's right, me or Jessie? Here's what she said.
Hey there, Mia, Holly and Jessie. I'm Trenna Moore, mother of Jessie Moore, male gymnast, and I hear you're debating how to say gymnast. Jessie, what do you think?
I think it's gymnast with an A. I don't think it's really a debate, really.
So there you go, you've heard it from the gymnast himself.
Do you know our Out Louder who won our books, our signed books,
Yeah.
because she's so lucky because she was listening to us in the most interesting place.
Yeah.
And she was listening to us in Antarctica with the penguins.
Yeah.
I asked her, she's called Sophie Council, I asked her, because there was a picture of her in Antarctica with the penguins, I said, which of the hosts do the penguins agree with most often? Is it Mia? Is it Jessie? Is it me? And you know what she said? She said the penguins would like to respectfully disagree with all of you and request more conversations about fish and wind.
The story I can't stop thinking about this week concerns a man named Harry Garside. We watched him during what I reckon he might identify as one of the lowest moments of his life. Harry Garside is an Olympic boxer, and in Tokyo he won a bronze medal, making him the first Australian to win a medal in boxing at the Olympics in more than 30 years. And this year, Paris 2024 was going to be his year. He wanted to be the first Australian to win an Olympic gold medal in boxing, and he was in a very good position to win it. And then earlier this week, he suffered a shocking defeat. This is what he said in a post-match interview. 2 decades dedicated to one dream, and it's over just like that. The interviewer asked how he was feeling, and he said, I feel pretty numb right now, but I'm sure the next month or two will be quite challenging, quite hard. I fear that my mind will get the better of me. I feel like I've let myself down and I let a few people down, mate. But what do you do? The interviewer asked a few more questions and he repeated that he was feeling like a failure right now and that he didn't even know what to say. He said, I know sportsmen are just meant to say the right things, but deep down inside, mate, I fear for what the next few months look like for myself. I'm sure there will be some dark times and I just have to prepare for that now. This is not the post-match interview you usually hear. And he followed up with a post on his Instagram, and here's what he said.
Beating myself up for the past couple of hours since I fought and had a couple of screams, a couple of cries, and then I went and got some food and I was eating a cookie and I just had this realisation that absolutely this sucks. Like we all hate failing, we all hate not succeeding, we all hate shooting for the stars and falling in our face. Absolutely, there's no denying that. But I had this realisation that I went on a 2-decade journey to try and get that gold medal, and yes, I didn't get that gold medal, but I become my own friend in that journey and being kind to myself.
What Garside reminds us of is that there are more than 10,000 athletes inside that Olympic Village, and most of those athletes will go home profoundly disappointed. They've trained their whole lives for a moment and they probably lost. You don't get to that level without being fiercely competitive, and as much as we hear them say, I'm just proud to be here and represent my country, the goal is to win. Did you find his words refreshing? Because they're pretty confronting to listen to. Holly, what did you think?
I love that he said it. I particularly like that second quote where he said he felt better after he had eaten a cookie, because haven't we all been there? Yeah.
I thought the whole thing was going to be like, and now I can eat cookies. And I was like, yay. But that wasn't the point.
I think it's really refreshing anytime you hear sports people being honest, because in order to be as focused as they have to be to get to where they are, they follow very narrow scripts, which is why, as you said, this is not what they normally say. So anytime they're going to be really honest, I love it. It always absolutely kills me at the end of football games, big finals, where you'll see all the men fall to the floor and cry. It kills me, because I don't agree with you that every one of those 10,000 athletes will be devastated when they don't walk out with gold. Most of them won't even be expecting to get near the
you're
podium,
right about
right?
that,
So
yes.
there are 10,000 athletes there. There are about 1,000 medals. So the odds are you're not going to get one. And the favourites going into every single sport, we know who they are. They're the people whose names we know. They're the ones going to win the medals. Most of the other ones, we don't know their names. If we think that the only point of the Olympic Games or any sporting endeavour is to win gold, then what are all those other people doing there? And
Trying to win gold.
I don't agree with that. I think there's an enormous amount of importance about trying, about participating, I think you've got to be there because you love what you do. They're all not going to win gold and they all know it, right? So why are they bothering otherwise?
I think there's what you know is likely, but there's always hope, right? Because there are always upsets. Look at Steve Bradbury in the Winter Olympics when literally everybody fell down and he won gold. That's what makes the Olympics exciting, because you never know. It all does come down to how things happen in the day.
Yeah,
and
but the reason we all know his name is because that happens so rarely.
It happens so rarely. You're right. It does happen so rarely. But my point is that it does happen. So everybody's got the hope that they're going to be either Simone Biles or Steve Bradbury or somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't think anybody goes to the Olympics or any kind of competition or anything thinking that they won't win, or not trying to win and do their best and hoping beyond hope that somehow they'll be able to dig deep and pull something magic
And in
from
order
the tank.
to get there, they've won a lot.
Yeah, that's the thing. Every one of those 10,000 people, these are the best people in the world at what they do. Focusing so intently only on the ones who win gold and saying everyone else there is a loser just entirely discounts why they're doing what they're doing.
I disagree, Hol. I think they're doing it to win. I think that's what gets you through. That's what gets you through the injuries, the early mornings, the pain, the sacrifice, all of those things, the disappointments, is that you've got this burning desire. You're not doing it for lols. You want to win. You've got a hunger and a competitiveness that you and I, for example, don't have.
And what we see as well is people who peak, and then there's always that decision. Like, say, an Ian Thorpe who competed in 2000, right? And then there's a decision for anyone who's at the Ian Thorpe level whether they go on to do another Olympics. And sometimes they go on and do another Olympics and they have a Simone Biles experience, right? And they win gold again. And sometimes you watch someone who was top of their field now in the middle of their field. Yeah. And you think even the winners have to experience failure.
I like underdogs. I know I'm a bleeding heart, but I do. Like, Simone Biles is amazing, but it's not even interesting to me, that story, because it's like, she's amazing, she's going to win.
That's what's so ironic. She's come back in Paris as not quite an underdog, but pretty much an underdog.
Against the odds.
And that was what was interesting about her doco, because she said she was an underdog when she went to like her first international competition, I think the Worlds, when she was 15. And she said, every meet I've been to since, I've been expected to win. So she hasn't been an underdog since, until now, again, where it's like she completely wiped the slate clean by what happened in Tokyo for herself as much as everybody else. And she almost got that redemption story that, you're right, it wasn't boring anymore. That's why we got a doco about Simone Biles and everyone was watching.
Winning, gold, like me.
I guess the question, though, it's like, what do we watch,
That's how
right?
I feel.
The race
Not
finishes.
interesting.
The race finishes. We don't follow the people who came sixth into the locker room. We watch the podium and we watch the winner, and they don't get the interviews. And the one that generally gets the interview, gets the sponsors, is all over every poster. If you've been around airports lately, it's like Ariane Titmus, her face is everywhere. Harry Garside, his face was everywhere. And it's because they were gold medal hopefuls, right? And I've really been thinking about what that village looks like for people who, you're right, Holly, there are some who would have been happy to be in a heat because you know your personal best and all of that. But there are a lot of people where there have been upsets. And strangely, around the same time as I saw this Harry Garside clip, which has since gone viral, I opened a newsletter that I subscribed to by Kate Lever. And the headline was, What I Do When I'm Sad. And I clicked so fast because I'm always fascinated by this. And she wrote about putting on a playlist called Dramatic Girlies that has music from Taylor and Lana Del Rey, or having a shower cry. I've been thinking, we're talking about an Olympian. You've just lost. Your dreams are shattered. What do? What do you two do when you're sad, when you've had like a shit day and when you're feeling like your absolute lowest? What do?
There's two ways to approach it. One is to lean into the sadness and just really go with it and play sad music, have a shower cry. Music is the thing that will make me it's almost like marinating in my sadness or turning up the volume in my sadness. Sometimes what sad music will do is let me access crying and my sadness more because I'm just going to really feel it.
Yeah.
And then the other way is going, okay, how do I cheer myself up? And so there are two very different approaches to when you're feeling sad.
And what do you do to cheer yourself up? If you're like, I need to get myself out of a funk, what do you do?
I will
go to Westfield.
I used to. Sadly, I don't anymore. Going online never makes me feel happy, but I will because what I reach for is distraction. And that's not necessarily the best thing because sometimes the best way through sadness is through it, not around it or burrowing underneath it or trying to jump over it. You've just got to go through it. And I think that distraction will be my go-to. I will often be with my dogs because there's something very sort of, I don't know.
Grounding.
Yeah. You can cry into a dog quite well. Being with Luna helps me a lot. I think about the spiritual rest of being around someone who just gives you pure joy. And I was going to say because she doesn't need anything from me, but she needs so much because she's a baby. But it's like you have to be very present.
Yeah.
You can't be super self-indulgent. Or you can with your own baby, but when you're looking after someone else's baby.
Holly, clearly Harry went and got a cookie.
Yeah, bless him. I'm totally hard relate. Listen, I think about this a lot because I know you guys like to laugh at me for being of the three of us, I'm Mrs. Participation Medal, right? I'm I think we should absolutely celebrate everybody who has worked that frickin' hard. I hate watching a football game when it's 6-0 and somebody's running away with it.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot of dignity and importance in trying hard. And one of the things that's hard about sport is the results are so binary. And I don't think it is an accident that a field that I'm in and that attracts me the most, it's much less binary. You can't really just win or lose at doing creative pursuits, right? I know that you can. There are awards and things, but it's so subjective. This book's good because of this, but this one's also good because of that. I love the way that person does that. That TV show's great because blah, blah, I'm not really just into winning. It's not what motivates me. But I think that's because I don't see myself as a winner. Whereas I think people who are hyper-competitive always do. They see themselves as a person on the gold podium. I see myself bronze at best. And that's fine. But the thing is,
I think that makes you happier.
But I've had some really big disappointments in my career where I have lost. I haven't lost an Olympic medal, but after my second book, I pretty much lost my publishing deal. I've had things I thought were going to be successful and they weren't. I've had all kinds of big setbacks like that. And it's really hard. If you thought the only value in doing what you do is that I'm going to get a gold medal for it, then there would be no point in doing it. I think that the growth and the important thing and the thing that we actually love about watching sport and athletes that we don't admit is we love seeing that. We love seeing the fact that the people who are getting up at 4 a.m. and swimming every day, they might never win gold, but the commitment to do that is astounding. And so anyway, to my point is I do love a trier and I think there's lots of dignity in losing and I think there's no shame in silver is what I'm saying. But what I do when I've had those kind of setbacks and they've been significant is I retreat. When I'm really upset, I retreat every time. I remember getting a phone call that gave me very bad professional news and I will put on a brave face and get through the day and then I will retreat. And I go
And when
quiet.
you say retreat, do you retreat to your family or away from your family too? Do you like being completely on your own for a little bit to process?
Yes, and I might reach out to somebody surprising who is going to tell me like for advice, but not necessarily someone who's just going to tell me it's all going to be great and you're amazing. Sometimes in my life, I've definitely reached for unhealthy ways to deal with feeling sad or losing. Definitely jumped into a big glass of wine on occasion. Definitely eaten too much chocolate on occasion. Definitely taken it out on my other half. Like, I'm not some kind of poster child for positive
What about you,
mental health.
Jessie?
I agree with Holly that there's something that happens when you try your absolute hardest at something, regardless of the outcome. There is some self-esteem, which is what I think he realised in that second clip. Doesn't mean that the loss is any less hard, because you know it's a loss and there's disappointment and you can hope and all of that. Even the winners lose. Like, there's no such thing as someone who just wins, even though it can look that way. Regardless of the result, there's been points in my life where I've gone, I've worked really hard at this. But I have experienced the same, those like monumental failures. And what he spoke to in that clip that I resonated with was a real sense of shame. Like, I felt embarrassment.
100%. And that's why I retreat, right?
Yes.
And it's interesting because do you ever look at, and I'm going to get their names wrong, but the two swimmers who won gold and silver earlier this week who were like best friend and training partners.
Ariane and Molly.
But it changed the order that everyone was expecting. When Molly asked Ariane to come and stand on the gold podium with her, she looked a little bit uncomfortable about doing it, but she did it. If there's any embarrassment there, it wouldn't have been for her and her performance, but it's what she thinks other people are thinking that she's thinking. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
She must be so embarrassed.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Exactly right. And it's like you feel as though that's being projected. And what I respect so much about Harry Garside, right, in order to go to the Olympics and in order to be that hungry, and he posted something before he went and he's like, I'm there to win a gold medal. Like, that's what I'm doing. It's you are putting yourself out there to like, touch wood, to go, I am trying the hardest I can possibly try. And if I fail,
Very vulnerable.
you know I tried. Whereas the easiest thing and the less courageous thing is to not try. And I know we're in this moment now where it's like, talk about it. You've got to talk about it. You've got to talk about it. Call someone and don't be alone. There was this research that came out recently that Emily Vernon wrote about for Mamamia about how when something really awful happens to women, often they don't tell their immediate friends about it, even though they have this intimacy and they've probably had 14 conversations. They haven't brought it up. And I think it's intentional because I think distraction is really important.
But there's also something about when you tell someone it's real. When you're an Olympian, though, there's no option with that. Listening to Harry Garside, I was thinking about the public nature of not meeting your goals in the most public forum imaginable. And I was thinking that sometimes, because, you know, we're talking about what I do when I'm sad, that's kind of very different to when there's a definitive point I've been working towards, maybe for 4 years, maybe for 20 years. I didn't get the result that I wanted, and I know that that is the end of my road. Like he said, he's done. Like he he won't be able to compete at the next Olympics. So he might be able to reach other goals, but the goal of an Olympic gold is forever gone. And that idea of a definitive end point to a dream, I don't know whether that's more or less cruel than when a dream peters out slowly. And I was thinking about in real life when that happens for regular people, like perhaps realizing that you won't be able to conceive a child yourself, or when a marriage ends, or when someone you love dies, or someone you're estranged from dies, and you realize there will be no reconciliation, or you will not be able to correct whatever it was, if it's a parent that you had a terrible relationship with, and it's like the dream of them being the parent that I always hoped that they might become, even as an adult, that's gone. That can't happen anymore. It's almost like about mourning the past because it's all the time you'd spent dreaming, but also mourning the future because there will never be a time when it is fixed. There will never be a time when you feel complete in the way that you thought you had to. And then you look at people who just want to be, you know, I wrote in my book Strife about this friend of mine who was joking that she was going to write a book called Fuck Your Dreams for young people. And it was around the time of like Idol, and it was like, just chase your dream if you want it enough. And
You'll
it's like,
get it.
no,
you
if you
won't.
want it enough, you probably still won't get it. So when do you stop trying? If you want to be an actor and you just can't get that break, or a singer, or a break into a particular industry and you can't get that job, like at what point do you just go, you know what? I'm going to draw a line under this.
Or at what point do you move your goalposts of success, right? Because you could be an actor, but you might not ever be an
In Hollywood.
actor, you know, like whose name is above the theatre and is on the, but you might make some portion of a living appearing in ads here and there, doing local theatre, whatever. So that's the thing about the idea of, do you love what you do and you just want to do it, or do you have very specific goals to achieve the thing, right? I recently interviewed Leah Moriarty for Mid, and I went back and listened to an interview that you had done with her, Mia, for No Filter ages ago. And obviously she is like the pinnacle of commercial fiction success, right? And you asked her a question about whether or not now when a book comes out, she's like, you know.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, because once you debut at number 1 on the New York Times bestseller list, which is something that obviously I can't quite relate to, but hey, every book then has to come out at number 1 on the New York Times bestseller list, or everybody pulls that face at you that they're pulling on the couch when they're watching Ariane Titmus do something amazing and win a silver, but it's not a gold, and they're pulling the face like, oh. And so it's that thing that don't all the really successful sport coaches, the Ben Crow people of the world, say, you've got to fall in love with the process and the results will come. It's like, but
and also, and you have to fall in love with the process, because even if you win the gold medal, it's still not going to be enough to justify all of that training. You're going to have wanted to love the process,
but
because
at what
it'll
point,
feel empty.
my point is, at what point do you give up?
Yeah.
Because you know, it's like now with reproductive technology, for example, it used to be you try to have a baby until your ovaries packed in and then you went, okay, I can't. Now it's like, well, there's so many options. Of course they cost money, but you could do this, you could do that, you could do. And it's like, is that good? Or is it actually in some ways cruel to keep the hope alive? Or is it better because it just means you have to readjust and go, okay, maybe I won't be able to have my biological child, but I could still find another way. Maybe I'll foster a child. Maybe, you know, like what you said about moving the goalposts.
It's like the sunk cost fallacy, which is that I've been trying at this thing for ages and ages and ages, say being an actor, and I'm probably not going to get there. To let go of that feels like to let go of all the hard work you've done. You don't want to waste all of that. So you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. And what's on the other side of trying for conception or Harry Garside or whatever is that the big job to do the next day is identity creation.
Yes.
Because it's like, who am I when I wake up? Even after a gold medal, it's like, who am I if I'm not trying to win a gold medal?
Exactly.
Oh, you said that so much better than me. I was talking about the future, but you're right.
Yeah.
It's about identity, isn't it?
Yeah, because you go, I now have to start from the bottom. And I've had moments of these in my life, and you're talking about retreating. And I keep this journal. I'm not a journaler. I don't normally journal, but at all these moments of crossroads, I sit down and I write. And there are nuggets in that I look back on and I'm like, oh, wow, I could see something then, right? And like that's something that I've found
what do you mean?
Moved me through things. Like, let's say I've had an enormous failure and I've just felt like I've got some really uncomfortable feelings. I don't know what to do with it. I don't like just sitting still. So I'll write and I'll uncover why that felt like a failure, maybe what the thing I was actually aiming for is, and hidden in that, it's not immediate, but hidden in that is actually what I'm looking towards or actually what I want. I find that helpful.
Do you think, because we've talked before about people who are really goal-oriented and people who aren't, if you are hyper-goal-oriented and you are, as you say, Mia, you have to realise that your dream is unattainable, do you think you have to swap it for another dream?
Yeah.
You know, like the idea of how you get over a breakup is like get under another one, that kind of thing. Do you think that if that is your thing, like if it was like, I am going to win an Oscar, and then it becomes apparent that you're probably not going to. You might. Michelle Yeoh won one like in her 60s. People have like that you have to swap it for something else. Okay, I'm going to kayak across to New Zealand. Like, I don't know. Do you think that there are some personality types who need to chase?
I need to chase. I get over failure pretty quickly though. I think
it's your memory.
I think you're right. I
It's
don't
remembers and forgetters.
I think it's true. I'm like, oh, that feels bad. Okay, next.
Wait, what did I fail at?
Yeah. And it's like I'm just next, which is exhausting in a different way. But you're right, Hol. I'm thinking about what you said about how I'm very leaderboard. It helps me organise things, and it also, I do see myself on the podium, not because I think I deserve to be there, but because that's what success looks like to me. And if I'm not there, then I feel shit. I'm not like, I gave it a good old try. And I don't think you are either. I think you would to think you are.
I always say I'm not competitive. It's not true, right? I am, and I'm ambitious and I'm driven, right? No question.
Yes.
Because if I wasn't, I wouldn't
You
be
are.
sitting at this table with you people, because this is a hard seat to fill. But one of the things that doesn't sit well with me, and it's going to make me sound like a wanker to say it, is that leaderboards mean that you think everybody else on the leaderboard is not as good as you. And I always think that a lot of people are a lot better than me, which is a self-esteem and self-vision thing, right? So if I'm like, I have to be the best, that means that I have to assume that then the people underneath me and I just don't see the world like that. I think we've all got a lot of different things to bring. And it's interesting because my daughter is really sporty. It's the way in which she is least like me. I have never been sporty. And she absolutely loves it. And she isn't necessarily, she won't like me saying this, but she doesn't listen. She isn't necessarily the best player on her AFL team. There are some girls on that team who are so naturally talented and who can kick a ball like you wouldn't believe with such precision, and they work very hard. And she works really hard, and she's probably never going to be that person. But she loves it, right? She loves it. If the only aim is to always be the best, does that mean that you should go, I should give up because I'm never going to be that person? Do you know what I mean?
Do you like doing things that you're not really good at or don't have the potential to be really good at?
No.
I've got a friend who is...
I don't think so.
I've got a friend who's one of the best in Australia, if not the world, at what she does. And she's just, about a year ago, took up an instrument, which was really random. Who starts playing an instrument in their 50s? She was like, I've mastered that other thing. I know that I'm good at it. I know that I am one of the best in Australia, if not the world. But it's actually very humbling, not in a I need to be more humble. It's more she's liking not being good at something, because you can only, once you're a master at something, you're incrementally improving. But she's starting at the absolute baseline, and she says it's exercising her brain and her competitiveness in a way that it hasn't been for a really long time.
I do like trying new things, and then getting into it. And I don't know. It's interesting because I think, is it true that if I'm very leaderboard focused that I think everyone else is a loser?
Well, to be clear, that's not what I think. It's more just that I think I'm a loser.
Unless you're there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
so we're all looking at our own.
Yes, I have one standard for me, and then I think everybody else is great, kind of thing.
I want to know about outlouders and moments of failure, because that's why the Olympics resonates. That's why we all watch it. That's why there are stories everywhere, is because there is something about winning and losing that is universal. And I want to know outlouders who have had an enormous failure, what did you do next? What's the plan? How did you get yourself out of a funk? I would love to hear. Join us in the Outlouders Facebook group.
Mamamia Out Loud!
It's Friday, so we are recommending things that you can do and eat and watch this weekend. I think that Mia should go first because she's unearthed this little known new talent that I think we should all get on board with. Mia, what's your recommendation this week?
I was on Instagram on the weekend and I stumbled across Hamish Blake's stories, and he was making a birthday cake.
What? He makes a birthday cake?
He does this thing for his two kids,
Twice
Ruby and
a
Sunny,
year, every year.
on their birthdays, where they can say
He's been
whatever
married
they
for
want.
10 years.
He makes a birthday cake. He
Yep.
does it through the night
Yep.
with whiskey, some form of alcohol, and he turns it into an Instagram story, sort of live. Doesn't live stream it, but makes stories.
Yeah.
Do you need me to explain it more?
Why are you recommending it? Because the thing is that we've discussed this on this show before.
I think he's been doing it for 10 years.
Some women don't like it because they're like, why does this guy get all the accolades for making the cakes? I've always said I think we need to encourage the men.
I think it's funny. I think it's lighthearted. I love Hamish.
Other people say to me, who cleans up all that mess?
I think it's one of those things.
Why did it resonate with you
I've
this
got
week?
two recommendations. One is the actual watching of it, and he saved it on his highlight. This year his daughter wanted him to make a cake with in the faces of his two cats. They've got those squashy-faced cats.
A piece of cake. Or pieces of cake. Hello.
I do like watching baking. I don't know why I've been resistant to it. So one is to actually go and watch it because it's just entertaining. And the other thing is having a more open mind, Because I really liked Hamish. I know Hamish personally a little bit, and I think he's a delight, and he's the same off camera as he is on camera. But when we've discussed this, and I know this phenomenon and this polarisation around Hamish Blake's cakes, and mostly it's just a bit of a good time. And he does it for his kids, and it also makes a lot of other people really happy. He's just very basic in that way and very generous, and it's lovely. But the thing about, why do men get so many accolades and women just have to do it without applause? And I guess I've been a bit bar humbug about it.
And then you actually watch
it. And I think it's one of those things that the internet has so often, we'll read an opinion or hear an opinion about something without or before we've even looked at the actual thing and made up our own mind. It was a good reminder to not do that.
The internet reminds me of high school when someone whispers in your ear, like, don't you think that Mia's a bit blah?
Yeah.
And then you start noticing this thing about Mia that you never would have noticed. And it's like, I actually don't even think that.
And it's also just like, this is so funny because this is our show, but like, do we have to have a hot take on everything?
You say yes. That's part of our job
resign.
description.
I think I've just fired myself.
I think the hot takes on Hamish Blake's cakes are like 5 years old now.
So anyway,
I love them too. I'm very much on board with you. Like, I don't always watch, it depends, but like, he's just a joy to watch, and I
got
like
my kids to watch. I'm now going to go back and watch all the others. And it was really interesting, the precision with which he does it. He's got all these instruments. I'm sure it didn't start off this technical, but he's got he does these black gloves, and it's just funny, him and his mate, and it's just
what?
funny.
This actually ties into the last segment. I have heard Hamish interviewed because, people you just want to hear interviewed and you think maybe I'll be more like you if I just hear you talk enough.
He's a delight.
He says that there is something innately funny about trying really, really hard at things, that enthusiasm is infectious and that's actually funny because a lot of us are like, you kind of, like the cake thing, right? You could do like a half-assed job. What makes it great is how hard he's trying.
Yeah.
That's what life is about, is just giving yourself 100%.
Which is what we were just talking about, which is the vulnerability and the humour in trying really hard, even if you're shit at it. And he's very much not shit. Did he start out shit?
Yeah, he's got better. Yeah, he's definitely got better.
He's definitely got better.
Very professional.
And very ambitious, very ambitious.
Yeah.
In the cake making.
Yeah, like the stuff where if my kid said that to me, I'd just start crying and run away. I couldn't.
No, I don't bake birthday cake.
Anyway, if you want to have a look at it, it's on Hamish Blake Shots on Instagram. He's got it in his highlights.
I'm going to go next.
Yep.
I'm recommending a book. It's a brand new book. And I think you've read it too, Jessie.
I have, and I hadn't recommended it yet because it hadn't been released.
I think it just came out yesterday, in fact, or this week. And it's called Girl Falling, and it's by Hayley Scrivener. Now, if that name rings a bell with you, it might be because you read her first novel, which was called Dirt Town.
Oh, I loved that.
So good.
So good. It won loads of, speaking of competitions for creative pursuits, she is a gold medalist because far out that book was great.
It's sold internationally.
Do you two feel a bit shit?
Oh,
she's higher on the leaderboard.
No, but
now.
it sucks because she's actually really nice.
Oh,
I've
she's
gone and
lovely.
listened to her speak because I've been like, how do I be more like you?
That was
And
a great
she's
book.
just-
Is that being? I assume it's being made into
I think
a
it
movie.
is.
or
Better be.
TV show.
really good. Anyway, her second book is quite different. I think it's pretty different.
Really different, yeah.
right? And it's really interesting because it's set in the Blue Mountains, which is in New South Wales outside of Sydney, and it's very famous for rock climbing, right? And it's about these two best friends, really, who grew up around there and who are rock climbers. And then one day they go climbing with one of the best friends' newish girlfriend, and she falls to her death. The newish girlfriend falls to her death. That's how the book opens. So no spoilers there, right? And then the rest of the book, obviously, is sort of unpacking
What happened?
what happened that day, what happened in their past, what happened to get these three women to that place at that time, the friendship between the two women.
That's similar to Dirt Town in that it starts with a murder or a dead body.
That was more of a crime. I mean, it wasn't a crime procedural, but it was a crime book.
Okay.
I mean, obviously this is a crime, but it's not really a crime book. Like that's not how I've.
And it's very centered, like Hayley Scrivener in her first book, which was really cool, was like she had this subplot about like a queer love story. And that's what this is as well.
Yeah.
Like it's exploring that in Australian context, which you do not see that often.
And it's
she
just
does a great
really
plot.
interesting.
Hayley.
And
Is she young? Is she old? What's her vibe?
Yeah, she's young.
youngish, yeah. She's
Very
really
good
nice.
writer.
She lives in Wollongong down my way. She's really, really great. Anyway, I'm really recommending it. It's called Girl Falling. It's really dramatic. It's a page turner, but also she's literary. Like it's beautifully written. She's great.
Yeah.
Read it.
Yeah, it's one of those endings that just 10 out of 10.
Does not let you down.
I am recommending Aldi spanakopita.
You are speaking my language.
Yep. So we have been doing our Aldi shop. I think once a quarter I throw in an Aldi recommendation. The last one was the very cheap dishwasher tablets. Today is the spanakopita. It's about $9. I was trying to find out online. I think it's about that.
Wow.
And
I saw it on an ad the other day after you mentioned it to me,
Yeah.
or Luca mentioned it. I saw it on an ad.
go to our
for
freezer.
Aldi.
It's
Go to
the
our freezer.
bomb.
There are just
Can you
45
explain it?
in
Because
there.
I haven't eaten one.
Oh my goodness, Maya, it'll change your life. So it's like
You know, I ate
a big
version
swirly
of
thing.
You do, I was gonna
spanakopita
say,
Yeah.
about 4 or 5 nights
Yeah.
a week.
You do. You absolutely do.
so it's got like spinach and feta in it, and it's like a twirly thing, like a little twirls.
So a spanakopita is a Greek pastry. You're aware of this, right?
Yeah.
Pastry with feta and spinach in it. That's
Yeah,
nice. And
yeah.
egg. It's really freaking good.
It's-
You can make them yourself, but why would
No,
you when
no,
Aldi
no,
makes such a good one?
You chuck it in the oven. They are obnoxiously massive, and they are perfect for like if you are going somewhere and someone says something stupid like bring a plate. That happened to me recently, and I brought couscous, and that was not what they meant.
Can
It's-
you just get me some?
Yeah, I'll get you some.
Thanks.
And I'm worried. I said to Luca, I don't want to recommend this because next time I go, there's not going to be any left. I go at a particular time during the week because it bloody sells out.
I've
this
heard they're quite
spanakopita.
famous.
It's really famous.
They're so famous. Aldi is, as we know, like some of the things at Aldi have cult status.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of them.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Spanakopita, we have it with roast veggies or a salad, and then I have it with tzatziki as well. And it's so good. For links to all our recommendations, make sure you sign up to the Mamamia Out Loud newsletter. It is written by our friend
really
Emily
good.
Vernon. There will be a link in the show notes.
It's really
You edit it.
No, I don't anymore.
Don't you?
No, I said it's really good. I'm really good. It's really good because Em writes it.
I said you edit it.
Well, I don't even edit it anymore.
Okay.
But I did. But anyway, Ruth still right.
Never mind.
Anyway, just bloody sign up for it out loud. It's gone. Do us a solid. Do you want daily Out Loud access? Why wouldn't you? We drop episodes every Tuesday and Thursday exclusively for Mamamia subscribers. Follow the link in the show notes to get us in your ears 5 days a week. And a huge thank you if you're already a subscriber. It's time for Best and Worst, the part of the show where we share a little more from our personal lives because don't you want to all hear more? Holly, what was your worst of the week?
Speaking about trying hard at things, a while ago I told you that there was a rat eating my vegetables at my house. It's
Did you
very
tell us that?
upsetting. You guys have blanked it out because it had gardening in it. I understand. Not your thing.
Oh, I've got a rat or a mouse in my house because
Oh.
I went and tried to get some bread the other day and there was a little hole that had been burrowed into the plastic that the bread comes in and there was some of the bread missing.
That's disgusting. Okay,
what
Holly,
you-
what do you
Anyway.
do to get?
Holly, I need you to build me a
I
cage.
thought it had gone. I thought it had gone away. And so I planted some things. They disappeared again. So it was still there. Right. So I am very proud of myself because on Saturday afternoon, I went and I got chicken wire and I got wooden stakes and I built myself, like with my own bare hands, I've got the scratches and stuff to prove it, a cover to go over the veggie bed.
I thought they were sex injuries.
That
I
is
had a-
so satisfying to build
Oh,
something with your hands.
I was so proud of myself. I had to cut up the wire. I had to, well, actually, I got Brent to saw the stakes in half, but we won't dwell on that. I built it. I made it all. I was so proud of myself. And I thought, I'm going to put some of my cabbage seedlings that I've been like lovingly bloody bringing up from nothing in there. I'm going to put some in, put my cage in. That rat doesn't stand a chance. Next morning, seedlings gone. Rat, night one, looked at my cage and went, ha.
How did it get in?
I don't know. It wasn't obvious.
Probably burrowed underneath
It's
it.
either buried underneath it or I'd left a gap or what lots of people said because I put it on my socials, the holes in the chicken wire. I understand how the Olympians feel when you try really hard at something and you don't win.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my worst. My best was, right, on Sunday, I'm taking Billy somewhere and we're driving down a country road near our house. And we've got the car that I drive all the time. And then we've got a really, really crappy car. Still haven't bought a new car, Mia. I'm still dawdling about that. A really crappy little car. I was driving that. And I'm on this road and this guy behind me keeps trying to drive really close to me. And I'm like, what's wrong with that guy? I'm saying to Billy, what's wrong with that guy? And then I'm like, God, the car feels funny. And what's that funny noise and whatever? And then he starts flashing his lights and I'm like, oh. Anyway, and he comes alongside me and he goes, look at your tire. And so I pull over to the side of the road and I get out and one of my tires is completely shredded. Like not just flat, but like shredded. I'm
You're on the
driving on
hubcap.
the rim like it's bad. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm the face of Bob
Jane T-Mart. Yeah, I've noticed.
I was going to say, can't you just like open a window and go, Bob Jane? And don't tyres drop from the sky magically?
So one of the really fun jobs I've been doing this year is doing this content work with Bob Jane T-Marts about tyres, and it's been great. And one of the things that I learned was how to change a flat tyre.
Stop it.
Oh, that's so handy.
This guy who pulls me over, he goes, do you want me to help you? And I was confident, and I said, no. I am going to change this tyre myself because I know how. And I got my phone out and I Googled.
Made content.
And my video of me changing the tyre came up. And I went, I reckon I can teach myself how to change this tyre. Anyway.
By watching myself change this tyre.
Anyway, it turns out that, yes, I can change a tyre, like as in I know how to do it. The video on Bob Jane T-Marts is really good. This isn't an ad for them, by the way. But it's still really hard.
It's really like
the
heavy,
hard
isn't
part
it?
is the nuts on the tyre are really hard to undo. And so you kind of have to stand on the spanner. And so there I am. But so Billy is with me and he's just like, what?
I love Billy, but do I think he'd be particularly helpful in that situation? No.
He is not useful. All he wants to know is, are we going to get to the shops or not? I thought you were going to buy me some Pokemon cards today. This is really inconvenient for me.
So boring.
And I'm trying to stand on this spanner thing to loosen the... Anyway, because of where I live, probably like 3 different guys in big utes pulled over and said variations of Dahl.
Dahl.
Do you want me to do that? I let one go by.
People love
I let another one go by. I'm like, no, I've got it. And then the third guy comes and I was like, please, God, help me fix the tyre.
I've got a video to help.
He did it in 3 minutes, like just unbelievably quick. Jack, bang, spanner, bang, tyre on, bang. Thanks very much. Off he went. And I was like, look, feminism, right? I know how to change a tyre now.
Doesn't mean I have
thanks
to.
to my, the work I've done. But do I want to?
Not
when
really.
it would take me a really long time because I'm not very strong with these nuts? Or would I like this man to do it for me? Yes, I would. My best of the week is that man stopped, helped, changed my tyre in 3 minutes. And I was like, I am so grateful. Thank you so much. Can I do anything for you? And he just looked at me like I was nuts because he was like, of course you would change a tyre for someone by the side of the road. And I shook his hand and he drove away.
I'm interested in the etiquette of that, right?
People are good.
I've had that situation where someone's helped me and I've been like, I almost want to give you money or something, but it's like
But that would be
exchange.
insulting.
Yeah.
I thought that about this guy. I was like, I should buy him. Like, I wasn't near a shop, but I was like, I should
Here,
buy
take
him
my
something.
child.
He wasn't even the kind of guy that like you would get his number. Like it all felt wrong. So you were just like very, thank you. I shook his hand. I said, that was your good deed for the day. And he like laughed at me and then that was that.
Oh.
My worst of the week, I feel like I've done this as my worst before, but here we are again. I have a cough, out louders. It's why I was recording remotely on Monday because I was coughing. I didn't want to cough on my friends.
Everyone in the world is sick.
Everyone is. And I was sick. I was one of them. And I was coughing. And that's annoying because it's like cough, 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 cough. And then also I was at my parents' for dinner on the weekend and I just suddenly had because if I get a little catch in my throat, it will be like an attack of coughing. I've worked out if I'm sitting down, that supports my pelvic floor, so it's okay. But if I'm lying down or standing up, bad things happen.
Have you gone?
I weed my pants so badly. I had to go home like a child.
In kindergarten who sent home. Didn't you bring your spare underpants?
And I was wearing some new jeans that I got from Cotton On. I really liked them. They were like leopard print jeans. And I weed in them. And the pad tried its very hardest. But I didn't have like a very major, I just had like a liner. It didn't understand
Are you
the
going to the
assignment.
pelvic floor physio?
Can you give me the number?
I've only sent it to you 11 times, but yes, I will. I will send it to you
again. Can you give it again to me? Because I really need to sort that out.
I knew you were going to buy those jeans. I saw them in the shop and I was like,
I bought them.
Mia will be wearing those jeans.
Do you know,
soon.
I didn't see them in the shop, but I saw someone at Mamamia wearing them. And I'm like, what are they? And she said, Cotton On sale. They're super comfy. And they come in like 100 colours. And I just got them about $69. This isn't a recommendation. But anyway, I weed in them, but they're clean now.
That's good.
My best is all my girls are back. So my daughter has been away for 6 weeks in Europe, travelling by herself. We sent our dogs away for 4 weeks to have a holiday from them, my 2 girl dogs, and they all came back on Friday. And also my daughter's girlfriend came back as well. And so she'd been away for a couple of weeks. So suddenly, having been in the house with Jace and Remy, and sometimes Luca would pop over. Haven't seen you much, Jessie.
No.
All the estrogen and the chaos flooded back into the house. in the span of about 6 hours. And it was just delightful. And also it's like a little piece of my heart has been over in Europe. And you know that thing of she's been traveling by herself. She's only 18. So every morning, like I'd slept with my phone on every night. And every morning I'd quickly check and I'd look on the Family 360 app to see where she was. And, you know, she was in countries I'd never been to, staying in hostels and stuff. And I was so excited for her to have this adventure, but it was like a part of my heart was there. And so she came back and it was just lovely.
I love that. Can I ask you a question, a dog-related question?
Go.
They mad with you for sending them away for 4 weeks? They happy to be home? What's the vibe?
Short memories. Dogs live in the moment. So they don't tend to carry resentment. They're just like, hi. So good to see you.
For 5 minutes.
What was funny is Bella, who's like my dog, she got in the car and she just needed to look deeply into my eyes for a few minutes.
Communicate a few things.
She just needed to be like, because I've not been apart from her for that long before. And she's like, I thought I'd never see you again. This is a truly great day.
My worst is I went to the doctor about these weird stomach cramps I'd been getting and I had to get bloods, right? Anyway, a few things showed up and like going to get that sorted. But one of the weird things was when I went back to the doctor, it wasn't the doctor who'd done the test, it was a different one. And he was looking at it and he went, this has been flagged, this is really weird, but your blood sugar levels are really quite elevated. And I was like, oh no, that sounds bad. And he said, yeah, we're going to have to, like, every time you get a blood test, we're going to have to keep this in check. And then he said, do you have a family history of diabetes? Then started talking to me about, like, you've got to be exercising, you've got to be eating meals and not cake. And I was like, I eat meals and, like, I don't eat that much cake. I was so anxious about this reading. And I left going, oh my God, am I pre-diabetic? Like, I'm 33. I'm like, I thought I was exercising and eating okay. Like, if these lifestyle habits have caused this, then like, oh, I guess I have chocolate. I do have chocolate every day for dessert. That must be it. And so I was so anxious and got home and was sitting there spiraling a bit. And then I Googled, because he gave me the level, and I was like, I should check how bad this is. And I put the level in and it said, yeah, that's elevated for a fasting blood test. And I was like, I didn't do a fasting blood test. I did a non-fasting blood test.
After I had a Diet Coke.
Because I was
and a bar of chocolate.
Because I was specifically told it was non-fasting. I did my test at 4 p.m. I'd had multiple meals. I'd had 100 coffees.
Literally.
I was like, my blood sugar, when I looked at it, was actually in the completely normal range. So I went from thinking I had high blood sugars to having normal ones. I came home and I was so stoked because you'd sent home dessert and I was like, this is free dessert. But also to the outlouders who like do have high blood sugar, that is a scary bloody thing. Lifestyle changes, don't feel like making them. But anyway, I was very relieved. So that was my worst.
Also that you got to do the test again, I assume.
Well, I don't think I do because now it's just marked as non-fasting. And they're like, oh, your levels were actually completely normal. My best has been watching the Olympics, obviously. But my best within that has been the conversations I've had with Luca while watching the Olympics because he watches it with me. And men are so delusional. You're never reminded of this so much as during the Olympics. We're watching the 1,500 metre heats this week. And I turned to Luca and I was half joking and I said, do you reckon you could dive in a pool and do 1,500 metres? And he was like, oh, of course I could. Of course I could do 1,500 metres. I was like,
it's 10 laps of a 50-metre pool.
Oh my God, Mia, it's not 10 laps. It's way more than that.
30 laps.
It's
Sorry, don't look at me.
Swimming laps.
laps.
I thought you were laughing at me, but you're laughing with me. It's swimming laps.
It's swimming laps.
Swimming maths.
7-8 years I've been with him. Never has he done a lap in a swimming pool. I was like, there is no evidence, no data to suggest you can swim 100 metres. I said to him, 300 metres, you need to take a break and a breath. And then we had a friend come over who was like, yeah, I could do 1,500 metres. His girlfriend walked in. I go, could you do 1,500 metres? She goes, no, I'd need a break after 300 metres. I was like, that's exactly what I said. That is the truth. Then we're watching the Latvian.
I couldn't do 50 metres.
The average person can't jump in a pool and do 1,500 metres. Then we're watching the Latvian badminton. And Lucas,
the Latvian badminton. They are deep. They are deep in this Olympics.
And we're sitting there watching it. And Lucas said with absolute confidence, give me 3 months and I could be the best badminton player in Latvia.
In Latvia?
I said, you don't know the rules.
Not in Australia.
Strange family you are.
He was like, it's a smallish country. I was like, you don't know the rules of badminton. He said, that'd take me half a day. I could be the best player. Men watching the Olympics is so toxic that I'm just like, this is why the world is as it is.
Well, he also set a different challenge, which was if you had to pick a sport that you had to do at the Olympics and not come last, what would it be? And so every night I watched, and so I was like, okay, maybe I was like, the skateboarding, if I could sit on the skateboard and if I had a handle.
Yeah.
And then my husband's like, that sounds like a car. And then now I'm just being silly and I'm like, I think synchronized diving with Jessie.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
I have a sense that I'd actually be quite good at archery.
Oh.
I think I'd be good at archery. Yeah, I do.
Is there a walking? Oh, no, but even the walking's tricky because of the way they walk.
And they've got rules and
I
stuff.
couldn't do any of it, I don't think. I don't think I could pick up the shot put.
See, women are really good at knowing their limits.
Yeah.
Whereas men watch like women's football and they're like, well, I could beat that team.
I've actually been thinking I couldn't have even sat in real life or on the couch through the opening ceremony. I couldn't sit on the couch through the opening ceremony. That is how useless I am.
I love it. Does parenting need a rebrand? Are working women not selling the idea of parenting very well?
Apparently not.
And apparently not. You might have seen there was data last week about the baby recession.
Yes.
And Emily Vernon joined Holly and I on Out Loud this week.
She's in her 20s.
Episode. She is. To talk about why women are deciding not to have babies. A link to that episode will be in the show notes.
Because we discovered that a lot of people at Mamamia are saying they think maybe they don't want to have children.
Yeah.
And that's
a lot of the young women.
in the data. That is all we've got time for today and this week Out Louders. We hope you have enjoyed being on the podium with us this week. A massive thank you to all of you and to our amazing team. Emeline, Gazilas, audio production from Leah, Porges. We will be back in your ears next week. Until then, try and find the sport you like on the Olympics. Tell us where it is. Jessie is watching the Latvian badminton. Something needs to change.
Bye.
Bye.
Shout out to any Mamamia subscribers listening. If you love the show and you want to support us, subscribing to Mamamia is the very best way to do so. There's a link in the episode description.